Happy Tuesday, Fasting Tuesday. We're back. We are home from the hospital. We got released yesterday, Sunday, and we were there for about a week and a half. Cade went in initially for a fever, and pretty similar to most weeks after the certain treatment he had a couple weeks ago. So thank you for praying for us while we were in there. Thank you for fighting with us, because there were definitely some things to fight against. He had pneumonia while he was in there. He had a pretty bad swimmer's ear. Anything else?
RSV.
Yeah, he had RSV. Yeah. So when you don't really have an immune system, it's pretty easy to catch things. So we felt a lot of grace and peace, and again, shout out to our doctors. I don't think at any point they give us like false worry either, which is nice. Like when he had pneumonia and everything, we just prayed and it went away. So yeah, thank you so much for praying. And by the end of it, usually Cade's literally sliding down his bed. The bed's like, go like that, and there's Cade.
Like with
sliding
his legs
down,
spread out.
Side, he's got a tube to his heart essentially attached to a machine over there, and the nurses are like, please don't do that. And yeah, so that's the last few days were definitely like that. Like, we need to go home, but we were waiting for his counts to go up, or his white blood cell count. So we are home and so thankful.
Yeah, and we are home. We always just barely make it out by the skin of our teeth, really, with his white blood cell count. So we're still waiting on that to go up, and we'll know on Friday more of his numbers. But even talking with our oncologist about different delays and how, from the beginning, one of the things that we have prayed is just like, God, it was really painful to make the decision to do chemotherapy and radiation for this whole time, obviously, like with a cause, but it was still really painful to know that we're exposing Cade to all that. And so our heart has just been like, if we're not supposed to do this, press the stop button, or you be in charge. We already said that we have like a bucket in our backyard, and if a fish lands in it, we are going to stop chemo. So we've just been like, it's like,
don't
Gideon.
Judge us.
Yeah, like Gideon laid out a fleece, and God
if he
caused
laid out a
the
fleece, there's nothing wrong with a bucket.
We have a bucket waiting for a fish.
And the voice of God. But
yeah,
since we hear in part, we figured might as well put the bucket out there too.
Yeah, but it was really neat to talk to our oncologist, because she even mentioned a dose reduction in a totally different chemo based on this one. So it's like every step learning to trust God, and then like celebrating what he's done. And I don't think we can over celebrate or like over study. I love how in Psalms it talks about, great are the works of the Lord, and they're studied by all who delight in them. And I think about like, it's just a good way to spend your lives, like dissecting the way that God is encountering us and meeting with us, and he's like delighting, like Psalm says, in the details of our lives. That's so cool. And this past week, it's always hard to be apart. My family was here, and that was so helpful, and had just really great time with all the kids. I feel like anyway, but one of the things that I was thinking about this week was, really randomly, I was reading in First Chronicles, and it was like basically going through all the people groups, and some of that can get like so hard to read, but there was this one part in chapter 6, and it's talking about like pasture lands being divvied out to different people. And I was like, pasture, like that sounds really, really nice right now to think about, being in a green pasture like Psalm 23 says. And I was remembering that in November, before all this happened, we were with a group from our church, and we were all supposed to wait on God for the new year, like what we felt like God was going to say for our church. And I remember really distinctly, do you remember what you said?
Yeah,
anyway,
I do,
but my picture was, I like immediately closed my eyes and saw a gate, like an open gate. It was like in a wood pasture field, like basically it was like wood, and there was like an opening to it. And so I was like, oh, that like makes me think about John 10, where Jesus says that I am the door, and if anyone comes in through me, he'll be able to go in and out and find pasture. And when I was looking up what pasture meant, it literally means like food. And just thinking how in each time that we've gone into the hospital or we've had chemo, God has provided spiritual food and energy food, and like friends serving as like food for our hearts, that we've needed through this whole thing. So as I was reading that this week about in First Chronicles 6, like him giving out pasture, I was just like, oh, that's what God does for us. He creates pasture for us and space for us to rest and to go in and out, and just like the joy of journeying with Jesus in the middle of life. It's so awesome. One of the things Chad and I were talking about this past week is that we would rather have the portion God has assigned us, including all the trials that come with it, than to ever be outside of walking with God and making our own messes and having to deal with that crud. Like, I'd rather follow God and walk into the storm with him, because
There's
I know
grace
that
there too.
Yeah, and he's going to be so faithful.
I was telling, actually, it was my aunt. Shout out to Aunt Wendy. This past weekend, it's just weird coming off the past couple weeks. If somebody would have told me maybe a year ago, whatever, that I had to spend, sometimes it's half a month in the hospital. Usually February, I know it was like 15 out of the 28 days, and I just spent a week and a half in the hospital, going to work, going to the hospital, waking up, going to work, going to the hospital, and there's grace there.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard, but it's amazing what the grace that God gives you when you're not trying to just do it on your own strength. Obviously, we're not perfect, but it's amazing to walk hand in hand instead of trying to walk the journey by yourself.
Yeah. Anyway. But those are our thoughts for this week. Basically, moving forward, what we need prayer for with Cade. He is going in on Friday, like I said, to get his blood work back to see if we can start a chemo round for next week. That would be a 5-day. That doesn't affect his counts. It's not like an intensive 5-day. But we're just asking God that his counts would be where God wants them to be. If he doesn't make the counts, then there are other reductions that happen. And if he does, we go ahead with treatment, just like we have it scheduled. So we're just happily trusting God, knowing that Cade's body's going to do what it needs to do, and continuing to just pray for Cade's overall ability to thrive and have life. We have kind of a break for the next month, really. We have just less intense
12 more
treatment.
weeks.
Yeah.
12 more weeks, folks. Don't lose heart.
Yeah, but
we need you. 12 more weeks.
We have 1 month.
I'll come find you.
Stop.
If you're in, you're in. No quitting.
Okay, so we have 1 month of just kind of a break before we get back into the routine that we just had of kind of an intense treatment to the very end. So really praying that this month for Cade is full of life and full of great memories, and for our family, so that it will sustain us through the end of treatment to get over with this whole thing. But
do you have any cool trip recommendations? We're looking for cool day trips in about a couple weeks, so feel free to comment on this video or somewhere where we would see them. Hey, go take a trip to this place.
Yeah.
And just make it kid-friendly / not crazy.
Yeah.
For Cade's sake. But for example, we love St. Joe in Michigan. It's debatable whether he can get in the lake water or not, but that would be a good example of, hey, go check out Silver Beach in Michigan.
Yeah.
Totally hijacked this video, didn't I?
No, it's okay. Anyway.
I'm not going to be invited back next week.
No, it's fine. We're super thankful you guys are praying with us.
Yeah,
we'll see you again for next Fasting Tuesday. And yeah, we're just really thankful for y'all.
Thank you. We love you.